moving around. There's a question at the back. Thank you. Let's quickly rush with the microphone there. We don't have much time. Let's just engage. Thank you.
My question is for Professor Shifam. Hi, my name is Craig. But my dad is actually a priest. I'm a guest here today. I don't know if you're familiar with the Gilded Age in the United States. Before then, they were a very agricultural society. In fact, 70% of them were rural. But as I'm reading on it, 7 men, just 7, transformed the whole of the United States and made it the powerhouse that we know today. So my question is double-edged. Firstly, as a Christian, and I don't want to talk about the United States or the UK or Australia, as a Christian, is it possible to be profitable and be a Christian in Zimbabwe? Realistically. Because we can talk about it in theory and say, oh, well, you could do this in the medical industry, in the building industry, in the financial industry. But realistically, is it possible for a Christian to be profitable? Secondly, if we were to get captains of industry like that, how long would it take to realistically change our society to make it an industrialized one in a morally sound way? I don't know if I phrased my question in a way that's understandable.
Christian businessmen, please stand. So it is possible. So it is possible. I don't know, Mfundisi, do you want to share? I think it's possible. Maybe I missed it.
I mean, there's no doubt that the environment is adverse and it punishes people that want to do business in a straightforward way. But it is still possible to conduct profitable business with integrity. And I believe that the minute the juggernaut starts, as critical mass is being built, it's not a long time. They said of Mozambique one time that it would take $1 million a day put into Mozambique for 10 years for it just to come to the poverty datum line, just to come to that line. But once investment started to go in Mozambique, it changed completely. It wasn't even as many years as that. So things change if there is the right attitude and the right environment. Look at Nigeria, look at Kenya. Things change fast.
Good afternoon, pastors, bishops, and everyone here. So I have a question which, if for those who have been following social media would actually agree with me that there's been a topic on Christianity and polygamy. You actually encounter such a situation in church while you're still solving this complicated case. You actually have a more complicated situation in your family where somebody who is a Christian in a prominent church actually got a recommendation from their leader to go ahead and have what they call the family duty naka. And they actually said, you can do that. It's actually Christian to do that. So I'm actually faced with a situation in church and a situation in the family where I'm trying to convince these people using biblical examples and what the New Testament church needs to look like. So I'm actually asking for advice on how best to handle it using godly wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a good one. By the way, 7 mountains include family. I'm sure he's not asking only for his situation. I'm sure he's asking for most of us here who might also be wondering, looking at what we are hearing in the social media. Who wants to take it? You want to take it? You're okay, no, that's right.
I was going to suggest, because this is a specific situation our brother is facing, that he has audience with Pastor Magumiso or Pastor Chimbete, but in principle, you must stand your ground. God does not condone polygamy now, and you're on good grounds. The only person who's allowed to be polygamous who came to Christ already with 2, 3 wives, but not in Christ and choose another wife. This is not. But the pastors can walk with you
Yeah.
and help you through. Pastors, please stand. Brother, I want you to see these pastors and be able to meet with them to help you walk through your situation.
All right. No, thank you. So you can have a look. So there are hands there. If you can have, there's another hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the presentations. Mike from MCZ. I have 3 questions, one for
Please
each.
ask just one for the sake of others here.
Okay,
Just one.
Thank you. And now I have to make a choice.
Please do make a
My
choice
pastor
here.
told me to pick this one. Okay. Dr. Wazara, I will go to you because you deal with the issue of sustenance of life, etc. And my question is really around what is the low-hanging fruit or the low-hanging opportunity that exists where it won't take too much to cause the necessary to happen in the health sector. I think even now you're probably ignoring calls for your help. But I think we need maybe to get a sense of what can be done quickly, 2 or 3 interventions that men can come together and do so that we get some relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe let's take another one. We can have your question. Then there's also a question at the back. Then we can have them answered. Please go ahead.
I think for me, my question is directed to Mr. Mshosho. Look, well done for how Edgar's has sort of managed to turn around. And I know one of the biggest challenges we have currently at the moment is raising finance in terms of putting money so that we're able to invest in some of the key areas that are coming. Just probably share your experience in terms of how you guys have navigated, raising finance and capital for the business for you to be able to do the turnaround. I'm sure we'll probably be able to benefit.
Lovely. Thank you. Let's have the third question. Please go ahead.
I'm Tapiwa Tawa from Dominion Center, Norton. My question arises from the appreciation that I've had from the interaction from this meeting, particularly what the 7 points Bishop raised and what the professor was teaching about innovation hubs and entrepreneurship and things like that. So my question, what worries me is, I like this event, the gathering of men, but what is in the church's mind, or what is in our leaders' mind towards this being sustainable, this dripping down to youth, to the youngest person? I remember Professor saying in Singapore, they teach them when they are young. What are we doing to teach these things to the youngest person in the church? Because ultimately, these are the people who will bring the change we desire.
Thank you. Pastor Waz, go first.
Low-hanging fruit, what I would say, because the people are in agony in the health, people are waiting for treatment and all that. I think that the medical and similarly minded people within the church ought to come together and form teams and support 8 or 9 karandas immediately so that they are in every province, for example. The second thing we can do, CMAS, PISMAS, all these medical aid insurance companies that make so much of the policy only have 8% of the population as members, which means the rest are out there. If EFZ was able to mobilize all the churches for people to pay $1 a month as an alternative insurance to support these 9 centers that will have done, immediately we will have some capacity already to relieve people. And then we can then go for the other things after that, but start, I didn't say anything about insurance. I'm just saying, but honestly, only less than 10% of Zimbabweans are on health insurance. And yet those are the people that are making all the decisions for the nation. And the church has got more people than that. And the business people here ought to tell us how we can tap into the informal sector and make them insurable for health, and then have these credible sites where they can go to and get minimal but adequate service. That's what I would call low hanging.
Can I add, another low-hanging fruit is you as a person. Right now, 42% of the adult Zimbabwean population is hypertensive. What that means is, a stroke, all these other diseases. Brothers, what we eat, our behaviors and everything has an impact. US spends $340 billion on diabetes only. My disease hour, they destroy the health systems. So what you think is good diet is not good diet anymore. We need to revisit that. And it's possible to say what is right and what is not. If we don't do that, I mean, I was talking to a Zaranyika, Papa Renyatwa. My clinics actually with people with diabetes are going up, and those things are very expensive. Hongu, it was good to have my growth points, but suddenly, when we cook once per year, and that introduced, because what they were eating and their behaviors was protective. But now we have these problems in the rural areas. We have studies galore to show. So prevention is big deal, brothers.
Shosho. Okay.
One of the challenges that I've seen amongst black men is the issue of failing to take care of our health by way of responding quickly to what the body is saying. We just ignore symptoms and keep going, hoping that it's going to go away. And by the time it's discovered, it's too late. So proper eating, exercise, and as well as being careful in terms of listening to our bodies and getting attention quickly, I think is also going to help to reduce the pressure on health delivery.
Okay. Yeah.
Commenting on fundraising, Fundis, funds either raise short term, medium term, long term, but you have to understand your strategy to say what's sustainable for your business. Like when we looked at Edgar's as a business, we then realized that we don't only need funding from the banks, but we also need our suppliers to participate in the whole turnaround strategy. So we went to our suppliers and say, you need to fund us for 60 days. Those are suppliers locally and also outside Zimbabwe. That's another way of funding. So you can negotiate deals with your suppliers. They fund you for 60 days, 30 days. That allows you to sell the product before you pay them. So that's another way of really get things going. But our biggest funding obviously was coming through the banks. But as you all know, banks need security. They need to trust you. So we were relying on our major shareholder for that banking and guarantee, which is another area we need to look at, say, who backs you? Can the banks trust you? And when you go to the banks as well, you don't just take any money. You look at the cost of the funds, look at your margins, and when you're going to pay the money. It's so important. So when we're retooling Carousel, we looked for 3-year money, what we call lease financing. Because you don't want to start paying a lot of money. You need to, first of all, have some reasonable payback. The factory has to churn volumes and you sell, make some profit, and use that money to repay the loan. So raising funds for any turnaround it's not an easy task, but understand what your business requires, what it can afford, and what will be sustainable, which means your business will continue to be profitable and able to pay back.
Thank you. We'll take this.
Sorry, let me comment. I have things about young people and things.
Yeah.
Church let's be strategic. There are 8 billion people in the world today. About 2.3 of that is Christian. If you look at the graph, in a particular direction for Christians, secret with the other religions is they are very deliberate nezvinamato zvavo kuvana vadiki.
Yeah.
They invest a lot. Faith ministries, we are doing well. But there's somewhere where we lost it a little bit because at one time, Tatani, a full-time children's worker in most of the congregations. But somehow we lost it somewhere. Let's go back to that. Let's have a deliberate, yokuti schools, primary schools within your community. Please take an interest in those. Let's invest in young people. Let's try to say, Bishop, I was going to approach it differently. Yokuti, instead of building my church building, let's build schools, Panema halls, which can be used as church on Sunday, or hospitals where there's a place, so that because when we say all these other religions, let me tell you what happened to Epworth. Child Evangelism Fellowship guys went there over Paridza and at this school, which was meeting outside. And then the headmaster asked, Tiva Kreoma structures. Somehow they didn't have the funds. Once we went back there 2 weeks later, Papa Nema structures, Angaitwa, and guess who had put them? Hindu. So, if we don't do that, if we don't find time to invest in our young people, even if we invest it, because Pedupa invest Muslim, I can tell you within the last 20 years, I have seen the number of Muslim students going up. And what they also do, Vanotora, these young people with great potential, they send them outside to train. They come back as community leaders, as policymakers, they've been government and things like that. I was going to tell you, Bishop Chapel Yamakati Paridzira in 1988 is still what it is. The Muslims, Vaka mosque. And let me tell you, they will build a beautiful big thing there in no time, if they're given the right. But chapel Kristu, zvayangairi, those ichiri, and is dilapidated, but we have a Christian community, and we are not building. Let's take an interest in those young people, and sponsor one. As a business, Anonzani Wagwatizo, he was sponsoring about 5 girls from a children's home. Those girls have finished university and they are doing well. If we had Christian men, my business is our, and they say, I am going to adopt this lot. Will you strive? One time I found all the medical students in some 50 years or something like that. Let's take an interest. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It's just maybe about $2,000 a year to support a kid. I'm just talking about university, but maybe it's the same thing. When work social office, they always say, hey, Professor, $234 to fund this kid, kupi. It's not much, but the impact it has, you'll be amazed.
All right, thank you. Sorry, friends, our time, just because your bishop will give you an opportunity. But after he has spoken, sorry for those who have got questions, we can't take them because of time. We just need to do something else. But you will fire me from church if you don't speak. It's possible. It's possible, okay.
It's very good to be a bishop. Very quickly, just to ride on what Prof was saying. Friends, we have a situation in Zimbabwe where we are waiting for something big to happen before we start changing the nation. Nations are changed place by place, house by house, family by family. As Christians, we are leaving certain gaps where we are able to make a difference. For example, the schools where our children go to. Christians must be the treasurers of all those SDAs. Because where we lose our money, if you count the amount of money we are losing in schools, you'll be shocked. Then there are councils. Then there's community issues. Where are we to stand there and do so? Because that's how we touch children's lives. That's how we change children's lives. Another area again, and because we were seized with this matter, is we have seen that it's very important. You can't start to train a person at university that corruption doesn't pay. It has to start at primary school. And so the AFREG you heard about, these are some of the challenges we are beginning to engage in now, where we begin to have training that begins at a very young age, what it means to be a good citizen and a good leader. So these things, some of them we are able to do as we intervene into these institutions. So at your school, for example, how involved are you? Because at that school, you're able to start a club that teaches good citizenship. We've got to think of things that we can even do while we are handling the big system issues. There's many small system issues that we can handle.